What's up? Oh man, we are live and going crazy. Nato has taken over the live stream. Just before we went on live, she wanted to jump up and attack us.
I
So,
think it's because I'm eating meat.
oh, we should have known better than to bring food into the studio. Anyways, welcome to Pop Live. We're glad that you're joining us. I think we missed you last week, so sorry about not being around last week. But Nato is just full on taking over the show here. I'm gonna take this bowl of meat out of the way. We run a very professional show here, guys. Anyways, as we had promised, we are so excited to have another wonderful special guest here because we don't know anything about this topic, but we know it's super important, especially for our nonprofits and even for some small businesses too that are just kind of running their own ship, so to speak. And one of the most valuable things organizations can do is write press releases. There's so many things that organizations that we've worked with that are doing out in the community that would be so important for the rest of the island and the world to know about. And the really effective communication tool is press releases, and also helping you get earned media. What is that? Well, we'll find out. There's a ton of awesome stuff that is at your fingertips that many don't know how to properly do or even where to start. So again, we're so fortunate to have friends who are way smarter and more experienced than us. And so we are glad to have on our dear friend. She's an award-winning news reporter, editor, and columnist with 3 decades experience in nearly every aspect of media, including broadcast, digital, and print marketing and public relations. So of course, obviously, she will be the perfect person to talk to us about this topic. You can hear her on every morning on 94.7 KUMU as one half of the Rise and Drive morning show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Miss Esme Infante. Yay! Hey, Esme!
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I don't know about the introduction. I don't know if I'm smarter. I'm just older. I don't know if that counts.
Well, I think both go hand in hand. With age comes wisdom, right? So you're just like,
well, we hope
you've
so.
got the whole package. But also with age, you have beauty because no one would know that you're older. Just look at you.
Aw, thank you. I will slide you the $20 tip after it's over.
That just shows how old you are. You have to Venmo me the $20 tip. You don't.
I can
we don't
Venmo
do
you
actual.
as well.
We don't
Believe
actually
me, I
use.
can.
Yeah, we don't use cash anymore.
Oh my
No, just kidding.
You gotta take one.
Okay, I'm going to take one of the dogs from Jamie here. We have a ton of excited viewers who were super glad that we're going to tackle this subject because for a lot of our nonprofits, they do know that it would be really helpful and beneficial for them to be putting together press releases and such, but they just don't even know how or where to go or what to do. So we actually got a bunch of questions already for people who wanted to know more about it. But before we get to those questions, I wanted to give you a quick moment to kind of give us a little background as to how you got to all this knowledge and experience that you're going to be sharing with us in press releases and all this media stuff. So I know I shared a little bit about your bio, but can you tell us a little bit about how you got to this point where you have all this experience? Oh no, we lost you. I don't hear you. What's going on? I think.
Oh no!
Did you?
I see the audio.
Sure.
Oh, there.
Oh, there.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And let me preface all this by saying that I'm sure I can say, because I know that there are many public relations. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Is this thing? Oh, that was so odd. I didn't touch anything except the screen, but I'm here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I think it might be the internet connection on your end might not be like the best.
Okay.
So,
All right. Excellent. Okay.
yeah.
There's a little bit of a delay, but I hope
Yeah.
we'll be okay. So let me preface all of this by saying that there are. I apologize. Can you guys hear me though?
Yes.
There's like about a
Wow, that's a
5
really
second delay, I think.
long
Yeah.
delay. Esme,
Might be
are
even
you
longer.
are you able to jump on Wi-Fi, or are you on Wi-Fi right now?
Okay. There is quite. Yeah, it's a long delay. I'm in the off. So we are kind of limited in this particular portion of the office as far as connection. So I apologize for that. I do perfectly well. So since we do have this delay, it's difficult. I think let me just jump right on in to talk about what my background is, so that folks who have questions can kind of know where I'm coming. There are lots of people in this town who know way more to do about public relations and marketing. But I think there are a couple of reasons that Nolan asked me to do this. Number one, because we've been friends and this is black. Just kidding. I'm totally joking. But the other reason I think he's asking me to do this is that I come with a bit of a unique. I've worked both sides of the equation. So on the media side, I've had decades as a news reporter, an editor, a columnist, a digital manager. Here at 94.7 KUMU, I am a one-woman news operation. I do the newscasts for 94.7 KUMU, and especially in emergency or pandemic situations, I actually do newscasts for the entire radio cluster. And that's for decades, my decades of media work. But also, I've been on the PR side of the equation. So I've worked decades as the director of promotions for our Islandwide Food Expo, which is my family's business. I also, for years, ran a company called Moms in Hawaii. And I had to do that. I was the CEO and the host of that. So anybody who's ever done a startup, you are both the janitor and the chief executive. You got to do everything, including your own PR. I also was communications director for Congressman Takai. So there's that. I had to handle all his PR, his speeches, all of his messaging, strategy, all of that. Also did PR for various other companies. So I've been on both sides of the equation. I have been in the shoes of people who are just hoping to get earned media. And I have been in the shoes of reporters and editors going, why can't I understand what this news release is about? Or what am I supposed to do with this information that people are trying to give me? I've been on both sides of the equation. So that's where I'm coming from.
And that is why you are absolutely the perfect person for this today. I think we adjusted some of the connections and stuff, so maybe yes. I think we caught up a little bit. So okay,
yeah,
great.
We're cool. We're pretty much in real time now. Sounds
Yay!
good.
Thank you, Jamie. So the first thing is, for those who are not even familiar with what a press release is, can you just give us a brief description of what a press release is and what the purpose of it is?
Absolutely. So let me just speak from the point of view of a news reporter and or an editor.
Okay.
On any given day, let's say, so I worked for 21 years in the newsroom when this was a 2-newspaper town. I worked at the Honolulu Advertiser. On any given day, news releases roll in by the dozens, the scores, the hundreds from organizations and businesses, all trying to give us a really quick summary of whatever is going on that day's news. They will send us press releases with short summaries that include the who, what, when, where, why, how of awards and programs and new initiatives and speeches and everything. It's basically a pitch. It's a pitch of a page or two in length, and they're trying to let us know what's newsworthy about the thing that's happening with their organization, and they're trying to get us interested in covering it, giving them earned media, as you say.
And what does the media look for when deciding? Like, what are the factors in whether they decide to pick up, coverage of your event and such? I know there's a lot of things, but
there's a lot of things. I was trying to think about what would be like kind of the main things that I would tell people. I've actually been asked over the years to do workshops like this. They pay me to do these, but I'm giving this
Oh
to you
wow!
guys for free because
I
you're
was
my
gonna
friends,
say,
and
holy
also because this is for
smokes!
nonprofits. But also
Thank
because
you.
I mean, I think in the end, when we, yeah, no, absolutely. Whatever we can do, I think, as communications professionals to help worthwhile organizations get their stories out, I am all about that. So this is why. But I put together this list. It is a quick hit list, but for our viewers who may be wanting to follow along, normally if I teach a quickie on doing good press releases, usually I'll have a slideshow or something going on behind me so you can jot down. Nolan, it is totally up to you how you want to do this. If you want me to just plow through this, or you want to just do kind of more like Q&A, totally up to you.
Well, the internet connection's getting a little choppy again, so I think we might be on a delay. So maybe we'll have you plow through it so that you don't have to wait for
I
my
think I lost.
delayed
There we go.
Q&A kind of talk story style. We'll give Esme a few seconds to catch up.
Okay. Okay. No worries. No worries. And at any time, I know we are on a little bit of a delay, but at any time, if you think there's a point that am I still frozen? I think I might still be frozen. That's okay. If at any time, if you want me to stop and go over a point a little bit more, I totally can do that. Cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long of a
We're still
delay it
kind of
is
frozen there.
you know what? Because think this might be an issue, Esme, is there a chance that you could disconnect and reconnect
That's
again,
good.
but maybe if you're connected to Wi-Fi or
You want to call her?
something? Okay, maybe I'll call her.
Show her your phone.
Okay.
I'm just holding here. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Thanks
We're
for
trying to figure this out, guys. Sorry.
technology. Am I right?
How do I keep it from?
Hey, sorry. We're just trying to check if we can up your connection speed. Are you connected through Wi-Fi or through just your mobile internet? Oh, okay.
Hello, everybody. This is so awkward.
Yeah.
What should I talk about?
Oh, that's okay. Even maybe
This
could
is
maybe
probably
if
the
you
worst
could
thing
just
ever.
restart your phone, because even the phone quality is
Why don't
kind of
you walk
glitchy
away?
too.
Okay. I'll talk
So
something I thought about.
yeah, if
Hi,
you
Brian.
restart
I'm glad
your
you're
phone
enjoying
and
the
then
awkwardness.
reconnect again.
I'm not going to
Hopefully that
sing a
kind of resets
song,
everything.
but I thought about this last night because I used to have an internship where I went through press releases as the intern in college. So that's pretty awful that I was picking who, like they would send press releases. I was working on I was working for a producer at a station in Boston, and one of the things that we did was the community board, and as the intern I decided what went up on the community board. I just picked stuff that I thought was interesting. There's probably a lot of like music things on there.
That's fun. Well, as you probably heard, we're gonna try and have Esme disconnect and connect back up again.
Is she there?
It looks like
she's there.
Technical
Hi.
difficulties.
it's still really choppy. But let's try one more thing. Jamie, you had opened up some kind of settings thing.
This?
Yeah, go to the lowest one probably. The 300.
It's on that right now.
Oh,
Oh no,
she's gone.
she disconnected again.
Okay. So,
Oh, this is sad.
but this is the difficulty with doing live stuff because
Yeah.
while Esme is available to us, she is mentioning that they're in the process of moving offices today. And so that's
What?
why she doesn't have access to Wi-Fi because they disconnected the Wi-Fi. So she's
Oh
just connecting to us through her
no.
mobile data, which, it depends on where you are and what server you have. Sometimes,
Oh, that's
the connection
crazy.
speed isn't that great. So we're going to try having her just restarting her phone and seeing if maybe that'll help. We tried to change some things on our end, but this is such a important topic, and I know so many
Yeah.
people were looking forward to it. So I just want to make sure that we get, everything she says and not part of it.
Sorry.
But I guess while we're waiting for her to get back on, Jamie was the one who came up with the idea for this topic. Was there anything in particular that inspired you to think of this idea?
Well, I'm in like Facebook groups for marketing and stuff, and that's a question a lot of people ask. Like
Mm,
like how do I get on the news, and like not here, like it's people on the mainland, but I thought of Esme because thanks, Brian. I thought of Esme because she helped us with the press release for Magic of the Mind.
yeah. So we did a video during the like at the height of the pandemic when everything was
Yeah.
going crazy, and we did a virtual like chorus video, and we thought it might be helpful to the community to lift their spirits and stuff. And Esme volunteered and told us, hey, if you want, I can write a press release. And we're like, that would be amazing. And she put together this beautiful press release
Yeah.
that got us like interviewed on the news, and we got featured on different news stations, and it
I
was
think, are
beyond our
we on all of
imagination.
them?
I think so. I know we're on at least the
Three.
two major ones.
I thought three.
Okay, so then
Was it
that's all
two?
of them.
That was three.
But anyways, the point of it was that that just shows you how like useful of a tool a good press release is.
And when
So
somebody knows what they're doing.
yeah. So speaking of which, we have. I think it looks like we might be good to go. So let's bring Esme back on. Sorry so much. So sorry for the
Hello.
technical
Can you
difficulties.
hear me? Can you hear me
Yeah.
now?
We can hear you. So we'll
Yeah.
cross our fingers and hope this stays the way it does. But
Good. Okay.
we were gonna. I had said that just go plow through it because if we do the back and forth, if something goes awry with the connection, I would hate to disrupt all of this good information. So if you don't mind, I'll just let you plow through your information and see if we are still connected at the end of it.
Okay. Okay. Interrupt me. Just stop me if something weird happens with the connection. I completely understand. We're family, so I'm gonna put on my glasses now because now I can stop acting like I can see anything. Oh my god, I look terrible. Oh my god. Anyway, I apologize. I have been up since like what 3:45 this morning, so I apologize for that. Okay. So what I did was I really quick, as I was saying earlier, I've been asked to do workshops before, helping people understand how to write good press releases. And uh, uh, normally I would have like a slideshow or something where you could see the tips that I'm sharing with you. I apologize. I'm going to rip through this really fast, and you're doing it all by audio, but I'll pause at each one. I wrote down 13 tips.
Holy smokes.
13 tips. These are just kind of like the things that leap out at me. As I mentioned before, I work both on the media side and on the PR side. So trying to help people understand from both sides kind of what is going on here and how to help you get earned media. Okay, so let me just say at the outset that getting earned media is not science or magic or voodoo. I know a lot of people will often say, "Oh, I can't get it done." Like,
Yeah.
how do you do a press release? What are the? Do I have to have it on letterhead? Does it have to be a certain format? Am I supposed to do some kind of voodoo magic with my press release? And it is absolutely none of that. It is good storytelling. It's good networking, and it's just common sense. So what I have here is a list of in those categories, some common sense, good things to do to get increase your chances for earned media. Okay, so number one, start with knowing or understanding that your job is to work in tandem with the reporter. If you are a PR person for your organization, your nonprofit, if you go into this exchange in a kind of almost like an adversarial, like they don't want to do our stories or they're not interested in us, that's not going to really help you. What you want to understand is that as a reporter or as an editor, my job is to help tell stories. We want to share good news with the community. We want to help get the word out. There are people out in the community who want to know what you're doing. And when a story is newsworthy, we want to help, okay? So this is going to take, though, research, preparation, planning. It takes time. You can't just write out a sentence or two and make one telephone call and go, I don't understand why I'm not getting earned media. It does take research. I'm going to explain more about that in a second, okay? But think of it generally as you're working as a team with the reporter. That's number one, okay? Number two, you need to do a little bit of studying. You have to understand the term newsworthiness. Now, if you just type that into your Google search, you will find a million articles about what makes an event or a cause newsworthy. Things like, how many people does it impact? Is it timely? Is it coming up soon? Proximity, is it something that's happening right here in our city, in our town, in our community? How novel or rare something is. Does it involve prominent people that everyone knows? Does it involve a prominent or pressing issue that people care about? Okay, these are all different factors. Those are just a few of the many factors that go into determining whether something that is happening is newsworthy. So I would say number two, do your homework. Find out what it means to have something that is newsworthy. Because on the flip side, if you bomb a news agency day in, day out with press releases, whether something that your organization is doing is newsworthy or not, you're actually not making friends, because your editors and reporters are like crazy busy. And if you are bombarding them all the time, trying to get their attention, it's kind of like, imagine like if a little kid or a puppy or a kitten was always bugging you for attention.
Mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that kind of thing. That action, that energy is not in a hectic newsroom, because newsrooms are, to understand what editors and reporters are up against, news agencies are smaller staffed than ever. And that's true of so many industries, but so many news agencies are down to just skeleton staffs now in the pandemic and because of the changes that have happened in media. So, be judicious and smart about how often you hit with your press releases and your story pitches. So there's that. Okay, so that's number two. So far I said, start with an understanding that your job is to work in tandem with the reporter. Number two, I said, learn what newsworthy means. Number three, and this is a no-brainer, in your press release, include the 5 W's and the H. So who, what, when, where, why, how, right? Oh, no, that's 4. Who, what, when, where, why? That's 5. And then how is the 6, right? You'd be surprised how many press releases I would get over the years that didn't include the basic things like that. Like they tell me, oh, there's a great fundraising drive that's going to happen this weekend. I'm like, does that mean Saturday? Does that mean Sunday? What time does it start? What time does it end?
Yeah.
Where is it exactly? They might say it's in Eva. Okay, where in Eva? It's really big. Yeah. Really basic stuff. If you fail to include like the really basic information, then as a reporter or as an editor, if I'm looking at that news release, that tells me that you weren't paying attention to the details. And I might be too busy. I might just go, this sounds like kind of like a neat story, but I have 10 stories on my plate today. And if they didn't give me the details right up front, I'm a little bit less inclined to go chase it. If I have a sense that you're not paying attention to the details there. So 5 W's, yeah, but keep it short. There is no magic formula to the way a press release should look or feel. I have had press releases that are simply bullets. It literally goes, who, blank, what, blank, where, blank, you know what I mean? And I've had press releases that are beautiful, long narratives that include quotes, and they both work. They
That's
both
good
work.
to know.
But the main thing is, to keep it short. KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. But make sure you include all of your 5 Ws. Think of it this way. If a reporter or an editor can look at the press release and know in under 30 seconds whether this is a newsworthy story, like a must cover kind of a thing, then you've done your job. Okay, so that's a good press release. So that's 3. Number 4, in that who, what, when, where, why, and how, and the why, who, what, when, where, why, and how. I would say of all those things, I mean, you have to have all of those, but for your number 4, I would say you need to explain in those bullets why my audience needs to care about what you're doing. Okay. Why is this newsworthy? Too often I would get press releases that totally skip that. Like an organization is doing, let's say, for example, an organization, maybe they're not friends of the library, but I've had many libraries, various schools do, let's say, for example, they're doing a book sale.
Mm-hmm.
That is really nice. That's awesome. I mean, I'd like to tell people that they're doing a book sale. They forgot to tell me things like 100% of the proceeds will go to, will be donated to, to this really worthy organization, or will be put into a scholarship that is going to go toward journalism students who are dedicated to service to the community, or I don't know, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's the compelling piece of the story that they forgot to include in the press release. And that's the thing that made it unique and novel and like compelling. Mm-hmm. The why my audience should care about your story. That is the most, like, if you need to boldface that in the press release. Don't boldface everything, but that thing about why. I've had press releases, it's like every other sentence is bold. That's like, not everything is that important. But the part about why people should care about your event or your person or this event or the whatever it is that you guys are doing, that part is too often skipped. And so, include, and it can take so many forms. You can tell us what is the goal of this event, or you can tell us, give me national statistics, give me some context. We're doing this thing and it's part of a national drive where nationwide the goal is to raise, $10 million for something. Describe your issue. Describe the call to action that you want the community to do. Describe what you think it's going to look like. At Kapiolani Park this weekend, we're going to have 500 people, or maybe not in the pandemic time, whatever it is. Yeah. Whatever is your end game, your end goal, give it some context. Give me numbers and context so that I understand why Joe Average should care and why it's different from all the other things that have happened. Okay.
Yeah.
That's number 4. Okay. Let's see. Number 5. Are you guys cool up to there? Anybody?
Yeah.
Questions?
This is amazing.
Cool? Okay. I'm just drawing from both sides of my experience. Number 5, I would say make sure to include up at the top of the press release all of your contacts for day and for night. Now, again, like I said, when they say read the room, you have to read the room in the news industry now. All news media are 24-hour operations. There are reporters who work in the morning, in the midday, in the evening, and overnight as well. And so you need to be available, maybe not 24 hours, but you need to be available day and night if you want a reporter to call you back. So don't just give me a daytime desk telephone number and then leave at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'm the evening reporter and I'm like, I can't even reach them. And tomorrow is their event. And now your chance to get covered is shot. Okay? Yeah. So, so make sure you include day and evening contacts, cell phones, emails, secondary contacts. If you can't be available in the evening, list another person on your press release who is going to be your evening contact. Just throw it. The more contacts, the better. Okay. Okay. All right. So
don't give them an excuse not to be able to get in touch with you. Okay.
Exactly. Number 6, I would say also in your press release, if you can manage it, work in a good quote or two from your organization's leader, your chief executive saying, or your executive director saying, the goal of our event is blank, or the desired outcome of our our drive this year is whatever it is. Also want to, if you can, include some photos directly with that press release, like actual JPEGs attached to your emails as you send them. Don't send a ton because nobody has time to go through a ton, but include maybe one or two. There are a couple of reasons for this. Number one, if I'm producing for TV, I want to see what the images might possibly look like if we send somebody out of there, we send a cameraman. If I'm doing print or digital, right there, I kind of have a ready-made story already. I've got the text, the main ideas, I've got a visual. That makes me more inclined to give it press. So think of remember when I said work with the reporter like you're a team, you're working in tandem. Think about that super stressed out reporter or editor who's super short on time, and make their life a little easier, which will make you more likely to get your earned media. Provide an image right up front, provide some quotes so that the story is kind of ready-made. There are some smaller publications out there that will pick up a press release whole and run it almost as it's written. So, the easier you make it for the media outlet or the reporter, the more likely you're going to get earned media too. Okay. So that is number 6. Questions up to there? I know I'm just kind of ripping through there.
No, this all makes sense. This is like kind of like, as you said, common sense, but a lot of people don't think about it.
Yeah.
And they get intimidated by what they don't know. And so then they start thinking like, oh, there's secret formula and whatnot. But I think that hearing all this helps people who don't have all of this training and experience go, oh, this is very doable, no matter how experienced or inexperienced they are, right?
Yes, absolutely. So those are 6 so far. Okay. So I have, like I said, I have 13 total. So we're about halfway through. Real quickly, number 7, list on your press release the assets that you can provide. Let me explain about assets. So you can write your narrative or you can write your bullets or whatever it is. At the bottom of your press release or at the top, totally up to you, include just like a line or two about what kind of assets you can provide. It can be just a line that says something like video available or photos available or interviews available. Like I like to say interviews, if like I think Nolan was talking earlier about the that video that we did last year, right? To be able to say interviews available with Nolan Hong, coordinator of the video, et cetera, et cetera. Being able to tell the reporter right up front, I got people lined up for you who are ready to talk at a moment's notice, and they know exactly what the point of the event or the initiative is. That is gold. As a reporter, I'm like, wonderful. They have their act together. They know exactly. I don't have to spend days going, who do I need to talk to? How do I get in touch with them, et cetera. So list your assets right up front, okay? And related to that, point number 8, also list your social media links. I found when I was doing, especially when I was working for Congressman Takai as his communications director, also with the Expo, a lot of times the TV stations are so shorthanded now that they'll actually tell me one of a couple things. They'll say, give us your social media link because we're just going to go look and see if you got any photos or videos there. I'm like, they'll just go ahead and pick it up right there and just, and run with that. Also, if you have a website, that's a fantastic thing to provide as well, obviously. And lots of times they will pick up background. I totally have had, reports done on organizations that I've represented through public relations where I'll provide the link on my social media, and the reporter will take the initiative to go and look at the social media, pull language directly from the about section or the mission section and put it right out there in the story. So that is and maybe you didn't have space or time to put it in your press release. That is another chance for you to tell a story about what you're trying to do. Cool. Okay.
By the way, can you hear Nato snoring?
Yes! I was wondering what that was.
Oh, no.
Am I boring you guys? Oh, no!
Like,
oh, no, sorry. Oh no, she woke up. She woke up.
I was just like, I don't know, the microphone's kind of by her. It's kind of loud, but Esme's not saying anything.
Hilarious.
And she sees we're smiling and nodding, but it's like, I wonder if she's thinking I'm just like,
With your eyes open.
yeah. It's
That is
her.
so
Sorry.
awesome.
I'm so sorry.
She cares not a whit about public relations, but that's fine. That's so cute.
This is
Oh
not
my
your
God.
audience.
She's not my demo. So
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions up to there? I just got a few more.
Nope. So far,
Okay.
everyone's no questions here. Other
Okay.
than
Okay.
Brian said that he loves your energy.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. This is something that I'm excited about because, and like I said in the beginning of this conversation, anyway, it's not an adversarial relationship. Reporters and then the organizations out there, we're all trying to tell worthy stories. So it's a win-win situation to share information like this. So to point number 9 now, my heading on it is research your contacts and build your distro. So I in the beginning, when I didn't know what I was doing before I had the experience that I've had now, I was guilty in the beginning when I was just learning how to do PR for our expo, of just calling places cold and going, hi, we're doing this expo. Do you guys want to cover it? And that, I didn't know what I was doing. I totally didn't know what I was doing. Building your distribution, what I mean by that is that well before the date that you need to send out your press releases, and we'll talk about timing in a second, well before, like in the weeks before you need to send out a press release. So you have to plan really well ahead. You need to build your list of contacts. That involves, let's say, for example, if I know I have a story, let's say, let's talk about the Islandwide Crafts Food Expo, for example, which I'm promotions director of. If I know that I'm going to have to send out a press release in a week or two, one of my first jobs is to start calling the newsrooms of the various agencies and figuring out what are the most direct ways to get press releases into the hands of the correct people. Do not just send your press release to news@HonoluluAdvertiser.com, news@KITV, news at such and such, because that's the email for most of them, news@KHON, news@Hawaii News Now. That's usually the general inbox for the newsroom. However, you have to know that inbox gets hundreds or thousands of press releases every day. Your little press release is floating in a giant ocean of crazy, like it's just an avalanche of stuff coming in, okay? You need to do your research. That means doing things like, let's say if I am doing, again, I'm just drawing from my experience. So like with the Islandwide Crafts and Food Expo, for example, it doesn't do for me to just send something to the general inbox of, say, the Star Advertiser. What I want to do is I want to find out who is the features editor. I need to find out who is the reporter who is most likely to cover it. I need to get their correct titles and the correct way to spell their names. Because if you get those wrong, like I'm not so picky about that, but there are some other reporters and editors who go, you know what, this person didn't care to pay attention to the details, so I'm out. You know what I mean? Like that's really basic things that you have to pay attention to. Also, by getting the names and the contacts for the people who are going to most likely cover your story, you start to establish a relationship. You start to establish a rapport. They know who you are when you call or you email. And that's gold. We're going to talk a little bit more about establishing relationships in the final part of this, of my tips here. But build your list, your distro carefully. Also make sure that you are including, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. This is actually number 11, but I want to make sure that when you build your distro, don't only do the TV stations, don't only do the paper, don't only do digital, civil beat, and whatever it is. Don't forget the radio stations, by the way, because we reach an astounding number of people, probably more than the television stations. You might be surprised. Make sure you take into account all of the different types of media. Okay, so that's number 9 and number 10. And include a schedule to follow up. So this is number 11 now. Let's talk about the timing of sending your press releases. Please do not send me press releases when the event is over. I can't explain how many times and I completely get it. Sometimes organizations are super, super busy. And but I can't tell you how many times over the years when I was a reporter and an editor where people will call me and they're mad because they're like, you know what? We had a really important canned goods drive this weekend, and I sent you a press release today, but nobody's covering it. I'm like, okay, wait. You need to send us well before so that we can schedule coverage. You know what I mean? Like, we have a schedule of events and everybody's sending us their press releases. And so my feeling, and other editors and other PR people may differ. This is my feeling about the timing. Okay, so this is number 11. You got to be very mindful about your timing. My preference is that an initial press release be sent out at least about 2 weeks before your event. 2 weeks is a nice cushion. It gives the editor or the reporter a little bit of a heads up that something is coming, gets it on the calendar. There might be many other things happening in town that you might just get preempted by. I have a story about this in a second. You might just get preempted by, whatever is happening in town on a day, big breaking news. But 2 weeks, sending out a press release 2 weeks before is a nice cushion. I would recommend, again, then 1 week before your event, send out an updated press release. So maybe your initial press release is just the plain words and the general description of what's happening and why people should care. Maybe your updated press release, you want to give people a reason to read it again. So you want to change your headline, change your subhead, put a little minder on the top that says, this one has photos attached. Or this, you know what I'm saying? Like, create something new, a new little hook on the updated press release. This is sent a week before, and this reminds the reporter or the editor, oh yeah, that event is coming now. Okay. Now, on the day of the event, you don't need to send out the whole press release again. If you send out the whole same thing, it's like, that's overkill. What is a good thing to send out on the day before or on the day is what we call a media advisory. That one is seriously just bullets. It says, happening today, book drive, raising money for, to benefit the refugees of blah, 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 whatever it is. I don't know, whatever it is. Time, place, contacts, photos. Here are the assets, interviews available for such and such. Just list, book, all of that stuff. Really, really short. That goes out either the day before or on the day of the event. Don't send it after the fact, like I said, because if you send it out after the fact, it's like, really? Okay. So that is number 11. Let's see. And okay, so now your event has happened, and believe it or not, your press release job is not done yet, because you want to do follow-ups after you're done. Okay, so now number 12, I was talking about, for number 12, I wrote follow-up calls before the event and follow-up calls on the day and follow-up calls after the event. So the day of the event, you're calling to check who's covering. During the event, if people have not shown up, you might just make maybe one more call to the assignment desk to say, hey, it's Esme from the Islandwide Crafts Food Expo. Was anybody coming today? I just want to make sure I didn't miss them. Okay, oh, thank you. You guys got my number? Cool, okay. And then afterwards, if they did or did not, especially if they did follow up, you don't want to bother people on the deadline, because that's terrible etiquette. So don't call people on the deadline, or when a newscast is hitting the air. But you want to make sure that you follow up. So there's that. And then also you want to make sure that you make calls. So number 13, final and last, is make sure that you write thank you notes afterward. Again, don't call people on the deadline, because you will not make friends that way. But if you can write thank you notes afterward, the whole idea, I said I was referencing relationships. This is a process. So maybe your event or your drive or your initiative didn't get covered this time, but you have raised awareness in a newsroom that you exist, that your organization exists. You want to have good conversations with the assignments editor. You want to make good conversations with the reporter so that the next time you write a press release, they remember you. They remember you that you're not crazy. They remember you that you are very thorough, and that you have worthwhile information and you're reliable. And if they did cover you, write a really, it doesn't have to be a super long note, but write them a thank you note and just say, hey, mahalo for, driving out all the way to Kahaluu to cover, our new, initiative to help the homeless or whatever it is. Because we really appreciate it. And if anything else comes up, here are my contacts. You got them, blah, 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 blah. It is an ongoing relationship. This town is so small. So whatever you do with one press release, like I said, even if it doesn't work out that one time, go for it again. When you have something that is newsworthy. You're building a relationship over time with the news agencies, the reporters, and the editors. And over time, it will pay off eventually. So that is a lot of information, but that is 13 stuffs. There you go.
It's funny because when you said 13, I was like, oh, this is going to be so intimidating where, if I was, listening to this, I might be like, oh, there's no point in me writing a press release. That's way too many. But they all just are so intertwined and make so much sense that it actually made me feel way more encouraged and empowered to write a press release if I ever had to. So yeah, we say, 13, but it actually made it easier and took a lot of the mystery out of it. And so I really appreciate it. I had a question. You had mentioned, making sure not to just email like news@kitv.com and to actually know who to reach out to specifically. How is one able to find out who is the right person to contact or how to find
there
those
are several
contacts?
ways. Yes, good question. That's an excellent question. And I'm not saying don't use those, because using something like news@kitv.com is an excellent way to make sure that you've covered all the bases, but don't only use that, was what I was meaning to say. Yeah, you want to do your research. You can find out who's likely to cover that by doing one of several things. You can, on a quiet point of the morning, like let's say, for example, if KITV is don't call during their midday show or their morning show, but find where is that sweet spot. For a lot of organizations, like 9-10 o'clock in the morning is a pretty good time before they start going nuts again, 10 o'clock or so. You can actually ask an assignments editor, say, here's what I'm doing, have your pitch really short and fast because they're super busy. Say, this is what I'd like to pitch. Who's the reporter or the editor that I should address it to? So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to pay attention to the coverage that particular organization is doing. If you know, let's say, for example, if you have, let's say, I'm thinking of things like, Dress for Success over at YWCA. If you know that a particular reporter has covered in the past issues related to the YWCA or issues related to helping people, in challenging situations, get trained and ready to do interviews for jobs, you might Google those topics, find out who in town has covered those topics before, and that'll give you a little bit of a hint as to who might be likely to cover your story as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Shall we jump into some of these questions here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jamie, go ahead. Since I never let Jamie talk, so I'll let her actually read the questions.
What? Oh, I gotta go through it because you answered so many of them already.
Oh, good. Okay.
We did that. Is this one?
Yeah, I mean, if you already covered this, just say, I already told you, but just in case there's something more to add to it, Jamie, go ahead and ask this one.
Are there topics or types of stories that are more likely to get covered?
Okay. So I think that relates to the point that I brought up about newsworthiness.
Yeah.
Definitely do your homework. If you are someone in charge of doing PR for an organization, do yourself a favor, get online. There are many, many articles that are written about the principles of newsworthiness. And that is going to tell you things like, is a story, they're going to talk about the timing of a story. Is it local? Does it involve people of prominence? Is there a pressing or compelling cause? or these different types of principles. If you educate yourself on what is newsworthy, that's definitely going to inform you as you're writing your press release, because now you're telling the reporter and helping them to do their job by pointing out to them what is newsworthy about your particular initiative or event.
Anything else?
We got rid of almost all of the questions on the list. So the only one left is there anything else that nonprofits can do to get earned media besides press release and follow up?
Oh, that's interesting. I think, going back to the point about, relationship building, it doesn't always have to be a formal press release. And it is, sometimes it can be a telephone call. If you don't have time, or if you think that you would like to speak with the reporter afterwards, one way, a nice follow-up might be, instead of writing a thank you note or dropping a thank you email, if they do give you earned media, to call. Be mindful that your reporter or an editor is super busy, but you can call very briefly and say, hey, it's Nolan from Pop Creative Media, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for covering this thing. It was really impactful, and a lot of people, gave us feedback, and we just wanted to say mahalo because we know you guys are super busy. And here are my contacts if you guys ever need anything else. ... And out, exit left. And that's, again, it's the building the conversation, building the relationship over time, and making sure that you're always available. I think that really helps too.
I had a question. If you could put on your other hat of now being on the PR side or the organization side, can you explain to the viewers, like, some may be seeing this and being like, wow, as easy as you've laid it out for us, that sounds like a lot of work. Can you explain what the value of earned media is and why it would be so important to put in this work to get that? Because they might think, like, I put out emails to our newsletters and I threw it on social media. Like, do I really want to devote this much time to this? And I would love to hear your opinion as to why put in the effort and time into this.
Yeah. I think that number one, your exposure, right? Your interactions and your exposure, your engagements through earned media. So let's say, for example, if Hawaii News Now or the Star Advertiser or Civil Beat or even our radio station gets a hold of your story. We're talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people for whom you have their captive attention at that moment often. Not so much, and I used to write newsletters. I know how the bounce back rate is, and I know how often newsletters can just go out and just disappear into the ether. I think earned media also adds a certain level of credence, a certain level of legitimacy to what you're doing. And that helps for a lot of nonprofits. I know you're depending on grants, you're depending on sponsors, et cetera, to be able to point to a respected media organization where, they've covered something that you're doing adds a level of importance and legitimacy to what you're doing. It can't replace it, where if something was not there, I guess, if you wanted to say, but I think that really can help you in getting your goals met for your organization. The public, I think, in general, gives your organization more legitimacy that way.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that part of it up too, because of course I think people would just assume like, oh yeah, it's a lot of good, a lot of eyeballs will see it, but there is something to seeing a reputable media outlet, willing to put their name associated with your organization in sharing your event, and that's the way I, as a viewer, have come to get familiar with other nonprofits and stuff, because I would see those news articles and I'd be like, oh, well, obviously they must be legit because they're on TV, like that mentality. So, yeah.
This is a dumb question, but you mentioned letterhead in the beginning. Is
yes.
When they send it, do they send it in the email, or do they need to attach, like as an attachment with letterhead? I don't know.
Like the press release,
You mean,
can it just be in the body of an email or?
It's nice. It's nice. And, with Google, like I use Google Docs all the time. It's super easy to just, copy and paste your logo and slap it on the top of a letter that you're going to write or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be fancy. It totally does not have to be fancy. And in fact, if you as a nonprofit feel like you want to create a professional look to your press releases, it does add a little bit more, just an air of legitimacy, I think. Google has a million awesome, ready to go formats for everything under the sun. You can totally use one of those and adapt it and change it as you like. That's a really easy, because I know everybody's working on a budget if you're a nonprofit organization. And so that's one really super simple way to do that. It's not 100% necessary, though. I have had wonderful press releases written just plain in an email on plain paper. Back in the day, yes, paper. We would actually get press releases on paper. Pretty much everybody works in digitally now. I almost never get written press releases anymore, like printed press releases. But it's nice. I think it's nice, especially if you are a big organization, like you're an established organization. I would worry if I got a press release from, say, like Hawaii Food Bank or the Hawaii Community Foundation or something, and it wasn't on a like a logo letterhead. I would be like, is this really from them?
Yeah.
So. But if we're talking about smaller organizations that may or may not have a budget for something like that, it's not 100% necessary. I think it does lend a little bit legitimacy, but I've had wonderful press releases with almost nothing in terms of graphics, but wonderful in their storytelling and the accuracy and thoroughness of their information. That's the main thing.
And I also wanted to bring up what I assumed is something that people don't consider is like, you're mentioning people getting discouraged by not getting their events picked up and such. And another factor that I didn't hear you mention that I assume is also an issue too is just how, if there's a big event that supersedes yours that happens that day. So the news organization may be planning to cover your event and then something tragedy happens and they got to take that story over yours, right?
Totally. That has totally happened. And I will tell you this story, 100% true. And we still joke around about it. So you guys know Olena Hugh. She used to be at KHON2. She's now a very successful publicist herself and has a lot of different things going on around town. But back in the day when she worked at KHON2, I totally had that happen to me. So I had sent a bunch of press releases, and KHON was among the organizations coming to cover an expo that we did at the Blaisdell one year. And we were all set to go. And in fact, I was already, like, Olena had already texted me. She said she was in the parking lot. So I'm saying, I'm already, we've got the space where we're going to set up the cameraman and I'm just waiting. And I get a text. I can't remember if it was a text or call, but she goes, I think it was a text. She said, I am so sorry. Cause I was standing there for a while thinking, where are they? I've been waiting a while. And then she texted me and she said, I am so sorry. We couldn't come in. We got to go. Because we got called to a sewage line pipe, like a main break. You know how they talk about like a sewer main break?
Yeah.
We got called to a sewer main break. We got to go. And I went, wait, did I just get upstaged by poop?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. And that is totally what can happen. And we're friends, you know what I mean? Like, so I get to tease her about that every once in a while. But, you can't take it personally. Some days are really heavy news days, and there's just no way that anything but that breaking news is going to get covered. And then there are some days that are really light. Weekends, by the way, tend to be lighter because there's less political news. There's usually a lighter. Sorry, there's a little hair here, but usually a little bit of a lighter news load. And so having your event on a weekend with a lot of advance notice often is advantageous for what they would refer to as softer news and not breaking news. So definitely something to think about. It's not anything personal, unless Olena didn't like me and just throw the poop in my face.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Did she actually put a story about that later on that night? Did you vet it?
I don't
Just
remember.
kidding.
I just remember that I teased her. I just teased her about that. I was like, "What? I got upstage right."
Brian said that's so crazy. I can't say it. I had a question. So, like, if your event is happening like today, and nobody has contacted you about it, is it ever worth it to like get footage that day and then like say it's happening in the morning and then send it to the news?
100%.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And in fact, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of news agencies are way smaller now than they were 10 or 20 years ago. And so a lot of times I have been asked by, and it might be partly because I am a news reporter, that they know that I kind of know what I'm looking for, that they will actually ask me, hey, if you shoot some photos or you shoot some video, can you drop them into this Dropbox and we'll put it on the news in the evening? Absolutely, I can totally do that. So, but I don't think I'm the only person that they asked to do that. I'm pretty sure that any newsroom, if they know that someone is reliable in their ability to provide images, footage, basic information about an event, they need all the help they can get. So absolutely, if you have a sense that particular news agency can use videos, photos, interview clips, whatever it is, go get them and ask if you can drop it to them. Most of these news agencies now have something the equivalent of a Dropbox or a shared drive or whatever it is, and that's where you would drop them. Just call the assignments editor and ask. There's no harm in asking. Good idea.
It wouldn't be faux pas or in bad taste that even though you got no response about your press releases and the event had already happened, that you're like, hey, I know you didn't say anything, but just in case,
same day,
here's what happened. I know you guys, weren't able to come by, but just in case, here's some stuff.
I think that's not a terrible thing to do. You still might not get any response.
Right. You
still might not get a story, but whatever it is that you can do, I think to provide the raw materials with which a news agency can, build a story. A lot of times, especially if your organization has something that is kind of fun, unique, kind of like a human interest story or something, oftentimes my newscast, the television stations, we're looking for, like a little tag story at the end of a newscast or whatever it is. Those can totally fit in there. And sometimes you kind of need one. Like you're like, oh my God, we just did all the hard news and I need like a 30-second thing to just stick in at the end. And sometimes that's where that comes in. Oh, thank God, this organization gave me some images or they gave me some footage, or I have this press release real super fast. I can just stick something in really quick. So you never know.
And if they do, make sure to still say thank you and follow up with all that. Like these are all basic, just like human relation tips, right? Like
exactly.
I think you took away this misconception that it's like, oh, it's us and this, like the media is like they're like two different worlds, but it's actually, I mean, we're all just people looking, and we all can benefit from each other's help. It's not one over the other. So this has been super helpful.
I like it because we're like in school with Esme.
Yeah.
I bet you're an awesome teacher.
Oh, I miss teaching. Thank you for bringing that up. I do miss teaching very, very much. So it's fun to do stuff like this. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you're doing this, I was like, this is probably what it was like to be in your classroom when you taught. And I was like, I hope those students appreciated just how much thought and energy and your heart you put into these things.
I thank you very much for that. I am proud to say that not all my former students run when they see me coming down the grocery aisle or something. Not all. Some, not all. So hopefully I did a little good out there somewhere.
Well, you definitely, like, if I or any of our viewers see you in the grocery aisle, we will not run away. We will run towards you Be like so
Can you
appreciative.
imagine if you ran away from Esme? She would chase you.
Oh yeah.
I would chase you.
Right. No!
Yeah.
And she'd take off her slipper and throw it at the back of my head.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
See, I know. Hey Esme, you had mentioned that you had thought about doing a workshop and stuff,
You
and
do. She does workshops.
or you do workshops.
She does workshops.
So if anybody listening or watching wants to schedule or have you do a workshop for them, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, they can reach out to me. My email for stuff like that is Esme, ESME dot onstage, ONSTAGE at gmail.com.
Gotcha. Jamie will put that up here on the screen in a second. For those who are unfamiliar with you and your story and would ask later on, where did you get your unique name Esme from?
Oh.
And there's your email address at the bottom there, so people take that down.
Thank you. My name. So my mother was a J.D. Salinger fan. So J.D. Salinger is the guy who wrote Catcher in the Rye.
Yep.
Wow.
Which we all were tortured with reading when we were in high school. For some strange reason, my mother liked that author. But lesser known than Catcher in the Rye is that is a series of short stories that he wrote. And there's a collection of short stories that includes one short story called For Esme with Love and Squalor. That version has a little like an accent mark over the second E in the word Esme, E-S-M-E. So you would pronounce it Esme, but that's not how my mother says it. My mother says Esme, so it's Esme. I use the pronunciation that my mother uses. If you call me Esme, you'll see me twitch or something, because I had a music teacher back in the day, and no matter how many times she heard Esme, she always called me Esme, and the madder she got because I wasn't practicing, the harder she'd be like, Esme! So it's Esme and not Esme. Yes.
You know, now that you've told me this story, now I'm not going to be able to forget it. And it's going to be ingrained, and I'm just going to subconsciously always pronounce your name Esme. Oh, no. And I'm going to forget that you hate it. Yeah, again. And I'm going to have to run away from you again.
We're gonna be in the grocery store, and I'm gonna hear Nolan's voice call me Esme, and then I'll be the one running away.
Yeah. There's just gonna be a lot of running in our relationship. Let's just accept it. And Brian said that there's a restaurant in Brooklyn called Esme 2. So I don't know if you knew that, but maybe you should go and eat there next time you go to Brooklyn.
Maybe they'll give you free food.
Okay. Yes. That's a reason to go. There you go.
Well, as this has been absolutely like beyond our wildest imaginations, like I'd asked you to jump on for like half an hour, and you've been so kind and generous with your time. You stayed on well past beyond that. And I just know that our audience, who is the nonprofit sector, is going to benefit so greatly from all of this knowledge that you've given us today. And on behalf of them and us, like, thank you so much for today and your time. This has been amazing.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's like I said in the beginning of this conversation, it's an honor. And really, in the end, if media and people who are doing PR for nonprofit organizations, we're all interested in getting the word out about worthwhile work in the community. So, need not think of it as something adversarial. It really is. It's a win-win for everybody if we get those good stories.
Well, you've done such a good job of helping others promote themselves. I would love to at least give you the platform to promote what you got going on. So aside from, every morning on 94.7 KUMU, you guys doing the Rise and Drive morning show, but you have all kinds of other things going on. What else do you have coming up that we can help support you with?
Oh my goodness, gosh. Well, there's so many things going on. If you want to follow me on social media, I am on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm just exploring TikTok now, which is
Uh-oh.
another conversation to itself. But Facebook and Instagram, I'm always posting for the various things that I'm working on besides 94.7 KUMU and the Islandwide Expo. I also MC events, weddings, and public events and so forth, celebrations and festivals and parades. And it's wonderful that the pandemic is hopefully, knock on wood, things getting better and events opening up again. So I'm starting to get bookings again for events that people want me to MC. So that's wonderful. So you can contact me via my social media or that address that I listed earlier, esme.onstage@gmail, if you'd like me to get involved with your event.
What is your social media tag? How can they find you? Is this Facebook
it is
and
also,
Instagram?
so it's yeah. So if you get on Facebook, you'll see that there are two, I don't know if this is a correct word, presences. Well, there's my personal Facebook that's just for my friends and family. Sometimes people get insulted because I don't let people in, but that's just my real life family right there. That's that. So don't worry about not being able to get in there. You can follow though. But I do have a business page. So if you look up Esme Infante, you will find my business page. There's a picture of me sitting at the controls for our radio station. So that's how you know it's there. And it's like, it says 94.7 KUMU over the top. So there's that. On Instagram, the handle is esme.onair.onstage.808. Because weirdly, there's more than one Esme Infante in this world. That's so strange. When I try
what do they look like?
They're not anything like me. They're way prettier.
What? I don't believe.
Like in places, there's several in South America. It's so interesting. Like in Brazil, in Argentina, there are other Esme Infantes. It's amazing.
Crazy.
So anyway, that's why I have the weird social media handles. But you'll see, each of my social media profiles say Aloha or Hawaii on them, so you know that it's me over here, because I think I'm the only Esme Infante in Hawaii. So please do follow me there, and that's where I'll talk about all the events coming up and the things that I'm involved with, and love to get your support for some of these worthwhile organizations that I'm involved in.
Awesome. And just to make sure Jamie got it right, is it at esme.onair.808.onstage? I feel like she mixed it up. Yeah, I feel like it's.
So, oh no!
Don't let. For those watching, don't look at this. So onair.onstage.808.
That's the one.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And well, to those who looked up the other one, it's probably the one in South Dakota or Argentina or Venezuela. Yeah. Yes. Give them some love too. We don't vouch for them, but I'm sure they're nice.
Brian said it was incredibly helpful.
Oh,
good. I'm glad.
Yay.
And to get any kind of compliments from Brian, especially he's sick today, so especially how he's feeling today, you must have been really excellent.
Thank you. Thanks for the support. Excellent.
All right. Well, Ez, go get some rest. I know you've been up all day and you're spending it with us. Cannot thank you enough, but thank you so much, Esme.
Very glad to. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Thank you again so much to Esme, and thank you to all of you for that incredibly invaluable episode. This is one of my favorite episodes. I mean, probably because we didn't have to do any of the talking. It's the most smart. It is the most well put together episodes, thanks to her, that we've ever had.
Somebody who knows stuff.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please give us some feedback of this is what we had wanted, as far as to use this platform to bring on other experts to share their knowledge for topics that we have no idea about. So this is what we imagine we could do. If you have other things that you want us to cover, other topics, other questions, that we could try and we have a plethora of resources that I'm sure we could reach out to that could help, share their knowledge about different topics. We have so much going on. It's hard for us to think of things. So I'm glad Jamie thought of this one. And our apologies for the unprofessional behavior of Nato earlier, who was snoring on air.
She's lying down with her back to us now.
Yeah. Usually she's not in the studio, but yeah, today was a different story. But for those of you who enjoyed that, you're welcome.
Brian couldn't hear her snoring.
Oh, that's funny. The Esme kid, though.
Maybe because she had headphones on.
Maybe.
I don't remember she had headphones on.
But that does it for this amazing jam-packed episode of Pop Live. I think we'll be back next week at our normal time.
I think so.
Okay, so next week we'll be back at our normal time, Tuesdays at 12:30 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time.
If you have any ideas, let us know.
Yeah, we are
running dry.
Yeah, I think I've just resorted to recycling old episode ideas and saying,
keeps telling me things. I'm like, we talked about that last month.
But maybe they forgot, so we can repeat it. Otherwise, we'll just have Nato on here snoring, and that's about all we can talk about. But I'm sure there's tons to talk about, especially now that things are changing. Technology is changing. Ordinances are changing. Who knows? So there's got to be some thoughts and questions that you have. So hit us up. You can email us at info@popcm.me or throw it in the comments. Brian just said something that Jamie reacted to. So
he had suggested.
Oh, what did he say?
Recruiting volunteer board strategies, engaging advisory boards.
That is a great idea.
So maybe we can move into things not just like marketing related, but like other stuff. Because
this is still related because when we've been working with communications and stuff, so much of it relies on the board and their involvement. Yeah. So having, learning more about how we can better strategize about board recruitment and volunteers, like that still ties in directly with all that goes on with communications and PR and marketing. So that is a great idea. And I feel like I just heard us talk from somebody about that. I think I have a memory. Yeah. So I think I have an idea of who we could talk to about that. But we'll work on that. Brian, as always, you are the MVP of our show. I hope you're feeling better.
I know.
And look forward to. We're supposed to have him on my podcast, which has been forever cursed because every single time we've been scheduled to do it,
like
something has happened where we had to reschedule. And I think I am in the lead with 3 reschedules to his 2, but it's always been just like the craziest things that would come up. But Brian, we will make it happen. That just makes it so much more valuable of when we do record it. It's going to be like the best episode ever. No pressure. But I hope you're feeling better. And thanks for all supporting. And to the rest of you, thank you for watching. Keep sending in your questions and suggestions, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Doot, 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 doot.